Right.
And the material really highlights the incredible variety here. Shows that movement isn't, one size fits all.
Exactly. You've got everything from completely free options with huge libraries
Yeah.
to really personalized plans that adapt to you, and even some that are just designed around making movement fun.
Like Nike Training Club. That
Right.
comes up a lot.
Yeah, NTC. And the key insight there isn't just that it's free, though that's huge. It's the breadth and the quality of the content.
Okay.
You've got guided workouts by real trainers, strength, yoga, HIIT, high-intensity interval training.
Right, those short bursts.
Exactly. And sessions from just 5 minutes up to 45. So it's incredibly accessible. Whether you've got a full gym or, zero equipment, that accessibility is a massive win.
NTC sounds like a great starting point then. But
Yeah.
if you're specifically into weightlifting, the sources talk quite a bit about Fitbod.
Ah, Fitbod. Yeah, the magic there, as the sources describe it, is how it kind of acts like a personal trainer.
Right.
It tailors your session every single day. It looks at the equipment you have access to, and even considers which muscles are still recovering from last time. To suggest your next lifts, your sets, reps, that constant adaptation is really key for, consistent strength progress.
Then there's Center, Chris Hemsworth's platform.
Right, the Thor app.
Yeah. The sources frame this one less as just a workout app and more like a whole wellness ecosystem.
Holistic is the word they use.
It bundles workouts with meal plans, mindfulness stuff. While the celebrity connection adds personality, the real insight seems to be the value of integrating those different pillars of health together, a more complete approach.
Definitely. And for the really dedicated gym goer, the one focused on tracking every single lift, JFit comes up.
Okay, so more hardcore.
Yeah, you could say that. This is where precision meets progress. The sources note its strength is in the detailed plan building and really meticulous tracking features, built for serious strength athletes who want to chart their journey lift by lift.
But motivation isn't always about charts and weights, right?
No.
Sometimes it's about just escaping.
Exactly. And Zombies Run is highlighted as a really unique example of that, a gamified app.
I've heard of this one.
It literally turns your run into a mission. There's an audio drama, zombie chases.
Uh-huh. Seriously.
Seriously. It just shows the power of external motivation, of narrative, making fitness feel less like a chore and more like, an adventure.
That's clever.
Yeah.
And for anyone who genuinely feels short on time, which, let's be honest, is most of us.
Yeah, the no time excuse.
7 gets mentioned. The core idea, just efficiency.
Pure efficiency. It condenses full body workouts into just 7 minutes, designed to kind of demolish that excuse by giving you impactful short bursts of movement.
Okay, 7 minutes. Hard to argue with that.
Pretty much. But moving on from movement, the sources are really emphatic about the other side of the coin, nutrition and hydration.
Oh yeah, crucial.
As One Piece puts it, you absolutely can't out-train a bad diet.
So true, so true. And just like with workouts, there are different strategies here too, right? MyFitnessPal seems like the big one.
It's presented as the veteran, definitely. A really comprehensive tracker for calories, yes, but also macros.
Right, macronutrients.
Yeah.
Protein, carbs, fat.
Exactly. Which are key if you're targeting specific body composition goals. And its barcode scanner makes logging food much easier.
So the insight there is basically the power of accountability, just tracking what you eat.
Simple accountability, yeah, just knowing what's going in. Then you have LifeSum, which offers a slightly different focus.
Oh, so.
Well, it tracks too, but the sources highlight its emphasis on building healthy eating habits. It gives meal suggestions, lifestyle-based plans. It might feel less like strict accounting and more like building sustainable patterns for some people.
Okay, more habit-focused.
Yeah.
Then YAZO is mentioned too.
Yeah, YZO is framed as being good for building food awareness and habits without maybe getting lost in all the granular detail, the numbers.
Right.
It's about understanding what you're eating without necessarily obsessing over how much down to the last calorie, perhaps.
Gotcha. And for specific diets, like keto.
For those, Carb Manager is noted for its laser focus on macros. It provides tools specifically tailored to keto or low-carb approaches, really dives deep into the numbers that matter for those particular plans.
Makes sense. And sometimes the simplest tools work best. Waterminder came up.
Yeah, just a straightforward app whose only mission is reminding you to drink water.
Simple but effective.
Exactly. It's easy to forget, but so vital for energy, for overall health.
Definitely.
But what really stood out here, and this connects to a key theme in the sources, is healthifying.
Ah, yes. Tell me about that one.
This app is highlighted because it crucially supports regional foods. Think tracking roti or biryani for South Asian diets.
Oh, wow. That's huge.
It is, and it offers local language support too. It just underscores the critical importance of inclusivity in these tools, recognizing that health and diet are deeply cultural.
That is so important.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Mealing was mentioned quickly, too.
Yeah, Mealim. Positioned as a lifesaver for busy people, especially parents maybe, it focuses purely on quick, simple meal planning. Takes the guesswork out of what's for dinner.
Okay, that's practical.
Very. But stepping back a bit, the sources repeatedly emphasize that health isn't just physical, right? It's holistic. Mental well-being, sleep, recovery, just as crucial.
Right, that mind-body connection is massive. Headspace is a prime example discussed.
Yeah, for its guided meditations, stress relief exercises, those sleep stories, tools designed to help calm the nervous system, support mental clarity.
And Calm is another giant in this space.
Huge. Particularly popular for its sleep, features the soundscapes, bedtime stories, sometimes narrated by celebrities,
Right.
and its flagship daily calm meditation. It's really about creating intentional moments of peace in your day.
For people looking for maybe a free, really expensive library, Insight Timer gets recommended.
Yeah, Insight Timer, thousands of guided meditations, talks from teachers, psychologists, mindfulness experts. It's an incredible free resource for just exploring different practices. Really impressive depth.
And what about tracking sleep itself? Sleep Cycle came up.
Sleep Cycle, yeah. It looks at your sleep patterns, uses things like your phone sensors to try and wake you gently during your lightest sleep phase.
Okay.
The idea is to avoid that jarring feeling, being pulled out of deep sleep. Potentially helps you feel more rested.
Interesting tech. And recovery often gets pushed aside, but the sources highlight apps like Stretch It and Romwood.
Yeah, focusing specifically on mobility and flexibility, which, are often neglected, but so key for recovery, for just feeling good.
Right.
These aren't intense workouts. They're about maintaining range of motion, keeping your body functional and comfortable.
And Allo Moves, that was described pretty vividly.
Ha, yeah, like a spa day in app form. That's a direct quote from one source.
Nice.
It emphasizes high-quality yoga, Pilates, focusing on that restorative, mindful aspect of movement.
Okay, so beyond these individual categories, the sources also look at apps that kind of integrate multiple things or have a strong social side.
Right, the all-in-one trackers or community-focused apps. Wearables like Whoop and the Aura Ring are powerful examples mentioned.
The rings and bands.
Exactly. They go deep into recovery and performance metrics, things like heart rate variability, sleep quality scores,
Right.
often feeding into dashboard apps that give you really detailed insights into how your body's adapting, how ready you are to train. The insight there is the value of objective data, really understanding your body's readiness.
Then you have the central hubs like Google Fit and Apple Health.
Yeah, great for just pulling data from all your different apps and devices into one place. Your steps, heart rate, workout logs, creates that central dashboard of your overall activity. Makes it easier to see the big picture.
And Strava. That seems to be huge for runners and cyclists.
Oh, yeah. Strava is called the king for that community in the sources. Its strength isn't just tracking routes, it's the social features.
Right, the kudos and challenges.
Sharing activities, giving kudos, joining virtual challenges. It really leverages community and that sort of friendly competition as motivators. Big time.
FitOn also came up for community.
Yeah, FitOn offers live and on-demand classes, but it really builds a strong community vibe. They even have like real-time leaderboards during live sessions.
Ah, tapping into that group fitness energy.
Exactly, but from home. And 8Fit is mentioned as an app trying to be a comprehensive coach,
Okay.
combining custom workout plans with meal plans, trying to guide you through both those crucial areas at the same time.
And Strong. That sounds specific.
Very specific, highlighted as a pure logging tool, mainly for weightlifters. If you live by tracking your sets, reps, the weight you lift, to ensure progressive overload,
Yeah.
Strong provides that meticulous focus, just the data.
Okay, so we've got this huge landscape of tools. But now, shifting gears a bit, the sources dedicate a lot of space to the practical side. Putting these apps into practice and dealing with that big elephant in the room, consistency.
This is where the rubber meets the road,
That's-
right? It's the hardest part for most people.
Totally. And the sources don't just say use an app. They offer actual strategies.
Right.
They even suggest app combos for different goals.
Yeah, like for a total beginner, maybe zero equipment, aiming for weight loss, A simple, accessible pair might be Nike Training Club for free bodyweight workouts,
Okay.
and maybe YZIO or MyFitnessPal for just basic food awareness or tracking. Keep it simple.
And for someone more advanced,
Right.
say a dedicated weightlifter.
The suggested tools shift, maybe Fitbod to adapt their lifting plan dynamically,
Right.
combined with detailed diet tracking using MyFitnessPal or maybe Carb Manager if they're low carb, and perhaps adding a wearable like WP for that deep recovery data.
So it's about matching the tool's complexity to your level and your specific goal.
Precisely. And there's actually a direct listener question in the sources on this exact topic. Someone asking, how to stay consistent after downloading apps with good intentions, but then falling off after a few days.
Oh, yeah. That is such a common pain point. I feel that.
It absolutely is. And the sources offer concrete, actionable tips, things rooted in behavioral science, not just get motivated.
Okay, like what?
First, don't get overwhelmed. Start with just one app. Seriously. Trying to track food, water, steps, sleep, and follow a new workout plan all at once, it's a recipe for burnout.
Yeah, simplicity first. Makes sense.
Also, make the initial goal tiny, really achievable. Don't aim for an hour workout right away. Aim for like 10 minutes of movement.
Okay.
Completing a small task builds momentum, and set reminders. Put your workout or your meal planning block in your calendar like any other appointment. Treat it seriously.
Good tip. What else?
Leveraging habit stacking is another powerful technique mentioned.
Habit stack?
Yeah, linking the new behavior, opening the app, doing the workout to an existing solid habit you already have. Like, right after I brush my teeth in the morning, I open my workout app.
Okay. Use the old habit as a trigger for the new one.
Exactly. It's about building automaticity so you rely less on summoning motivation every single time. And rewarding yourself is important too.
How so?
Give your brain that little positive feedback loop when you hit a small goal. It doesn't have to be big. And crucially, track all your wins weekly, not just weight or how you look.
Like what kind of wins?
Did you sleep better? Feel more energetic? Did you manage stress more effectively this week? Were you consistent for 3 days when last week was 0? Celebrate those non-scale victories. They matter just as much, maybe more.
That's a great point.
And this all leads to the core expert tip that's highlighted across the sources. Consistency beats perfection. Always.
Right.
Apps are fantastic tools, but you are the driver. The advice is simple, but really powerful. Pick 1 or 2 apps that seem right. Commit to using them consistently for at least 2 weeks. Give the habit time to actually form before you judge or switch.
2 weeks minimum.
Got it.
Okay. Beyond the core fitness tools, the sources even mention some bonus apps that can indirectly help.
Yeah, things that support your health journey, like using Notion or even just a simple notebook for planning your week, your meals, your workouts. Using an app like Forest to stay focused during a session, keep you off your phone's distractions.
Oh, the tree growing app.
That's the one. Or just using Google Calendar or whatever calendar you use to actually schedule your health activities like any other important meeting. Block out the time.
It really underscores that building a healthy life isn't separate, right? It integrates with your whole routine and the tools you already use.
Yeah, exactly. And the psychological aspect is fascinating too. The sources touch on the power of that visual feedback from apps.
Like closing rings.
Closing rings, hitting streaks, seeing progress graphs.
Yeah.
That little dopamine hit reinforces the positive behavior. It can be motivating.
But there's a vital warning mentioned too, a caveat.
Super important. Don't let the metrics dictate your self-worth.
Yes.
A missed day, a bad meal, according to the app. It's not a failure, it's just a moment in time. Fitness is a lifelong journey, not some pass-fail test. Progress, not perfection. That's the mantra.
Progress, not perfection. I like that. We also saw a really strong thread in the sources about inclusivity, acknowledging that health and fitness look different everywhere.
Absolutely critical point. It's not just about Western gym culture, right?
No.
The example given of walking after meals being a common, really health-supportive practice in many South Asian households is a great illustration. Movement is movement wherever and however it happens.
That's so true.
And this is why apps like Healthify Me, which we discussed earlier, including things like roti and biryani and offering local language support, why they're so important.
Right, making the tools relevant.
They make these tools accessible and relevant to a much wider global audience. They respect diverse dietary patterns, cultural approaches to wellness. Daily yoga and specific apps for Ayurvedic health tracking were also mentioned as examples catering to different traditions.
And this ties directly back to a listener question we saw from @Con the Planner, who specifically asked about apps that work for South Asian diets.
And Healthify Me was the definitive answer given in the source material. It just shows how vital it is for these apps to reflect the real lives and cultures of the people using them.
Definitely. Okay, looking ahead just briefly, the sources give us a little glimpse into the future of fitness tech, AI, and other trends.
Yeah, the future is now, kind of. AI is becoming much more integrated. Lumen is mentioned for real-time metabolic tracking,
Metabolic tracking.
helping you understand if your body's primarily burning carbs or fat at any given moment, which can then inform your diet and exercise choices for the day. Pretty neat.
Wow.
Future is another app mentioned that integrates AI for more personalized trainer suggestions and feedback.
And virtual reality, is that becoming a thing in fitness?
It's making its way in. Examples like using devices, say an Apple Vision Pro, for really immersive experiences. Imagine doing yoga on a virtual beach
Okay.
or hiking a virtual trail all from your living room. It adds a whole new dimension.
And predictive wearables. That sounds intriguing.
Yeah, smart rings or patches that could potentially predict things like your hydration levels, maybe vitamin deficiencies, or even subtle early signs of illness before you actually feel symptoms.
Wow.
Very Black Mirror, as the sources cheekily note.
Yeah.
But the potential for truly proactive health management is kind of amazing when you think about it.
It really is. Okay, let's bring this all back down to earth, back to the listener, with a really powerful story that was shared in the sources.
Ah, yes. Neat story.
An email from Nida in Islamabad. She talked about feeling really intimidated by traditional gyms because of her size, just didn't feel comfortable.
A common feeling.
She started using FitTon at home, and she said it made her feel safe and empowered. After just 3 months, she reported feeling significantly stronger, calmer, and like she was finally truly taking care of herself.
That story just highlights everything we've been discussing, doesn't it?
It really does.
It's about finding a tool that meets you where you are. You don't need to fit someone else's mold or wait until you feel perfectly ready. The simple act of choosing to start, even if it's just downloading an app and exploring it, that's a win. That's taking a step.
And the sources also include some quick shout-outs from other listeners,
Yeah.
like at Fit My Man Karachi, finding success combining MyFitnessPal and Strava for her weight loss journey,
Great combo for her goals.
and at Mindful Mosin using Insight Timer to help manage anxiety. These are real people using these tools to meet their own personal needs.
Exactly. So if we pull together the key takeaways from this whole deep dive, we've navigated this vast world of apps across workout styles, nutrition, mental health, tracking, social aspects.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground.
We did.
And the central message echoing throughout all the materials seems to be that these apps are simply tools. Their effectiveness really depends on how well they align with your specific goals, your lifestyle, and maybe most importantly, your commitment to consistency.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up, maybe consider this deeper idea. Fitness isn't ultimately about hitting a certain number on the scale or lifting a specific weight or running a certain speed. It's really a feeling.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. It's the feeling of energy, right? Flowing through your body, confident movement, ease of breath,
Truly restful sleep.
joy in being active,
Yeah.
physical capability, that mental clarity.
That's the real prize. And if exploring and using an app helps you get even a single step closer to experiencing that feeling more often, then it's probably worth the exploration. But always remember, the app supports you, sure, but the power, the effort, the transformation, that is all you.
That's so important to remember. And to anyone listening who feels maybe overwhelmed, where like you have to catch up, you don't. You're not behind. You're just at the beginning of your journey. Start small. Breathe deep. Move gently. Every single step you take counts.
It really does. And maybe here's a final thought, something provocative for you to carry forward. Consider how the simple, intentional act of engaging with a tool like one of these health or fitness apps this week, how could that unlock a bit more of your own inherent magic? Your capacity for clarity, your commitment to your own well-being and building a healthier life for yourself. How will you use technology intentionally to support yourself, maybe today or this week?
That's a great question to end on. We hope this deep dive has illuminated some pathways for you.
Wishing you all the very best on your journey, wherever it takes you. We're diving into wearable technology. You know, smartwatches, fitness rings, all those devices you see everywhere. Forget just counting steps. The sources you've shared show these are becoming, well, pretty significant health tools.
Yeah, what's really fascinating here is how much these devices have evolved. They're not just simple gadgets for tracking movement anymore.
Right.
The material really positions them as key players in understanding our personal health.
So our mission for this deep dive basically is to take this stack of sources you provided and, extract the most impactful nuggets.
Okay.
How exactly are devices like, say, Apple Watch, Fitbit, WP, Oura Ring, Garmin, Xiaomi Mi Band,
Yeah.
how are they tracking metrics beyond the basics?
And what did that data actually tell us?
Exactly. What does it tell us about our health? Maybe even hinting at early signs of illness. It feels relevant for, well, pretty much anyone curious about their body's signals, not just elite athletes anymore.
Totally. It's moved into the mainstream because the data is getting richer, and importantly, the insights are becoming more actionable. You can actually do something with it.
Right. So let's maybe start with how the sources define this space. We know what they look like, but what's the core function that groups these devices together?
Well, based on the material, it's actually quite simple. They're devices worn directly on the body, wrist, finger, sometimes even integrated into clothing.
Okay.
And they're specifically designed to continuously track a range of health and physiological metrics.
Got it. So it's that constant stream of personal data. And the metrics they track are, wow, far more varied now, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. Beyond the obvious, like movement tracking, the sources highlight several key indicators. Heart rate is a staple, of course,
Sure.
but heart rate variability, or HRV, comes up again and again as a really crucial metric.
Okay, HRV. Why is that so important based on what you saw in the sources?
Well, HRV isn't just how fast your heart beats. It's the subtle variations in time between each beat, milliseconds.
Oh.
And it's a sensitive marker of your autonomic nervous system's balance, basically, how well your body is recovering from stress or training. Higher variability is generally seen as a sign of better recovery and resilience.
So devices like W8 or maybe the Oura Ring aren't just giving you a heart rate number. They're using HRV along with sleep data, respiration rate, putting it all together for something like a daily recovery score.
Precisely. And the sources give examples of people using this data very practically. Like there was an anecdote about someone adjusting their daily workout intensity,
Right.
pushing hard when their recovery score was high, or maybe opting for lighter activity like yoga or just a walk, when the data suggested they weren't fully recovered.
So that's data directly influencing behavior. Makes sense.
Exactly.
Sleep tracking is another huge one. I mean, I know my own energy levels are totally tied to sleep quality, but these devices break it down into stages, like deep sleep versus REM. How is that actionable for someone listening?
Yeah, that's a critical point, making the data actionable, not just interesting. The material included a story from a listener, Rena, I think.
Mm-hmm.
She used her Oura Ring data and saw she was consistently low on deep sleep, like really low.
Okay.
So by making small changes, things like ensuring her room was cooler or, cutting off caffeine earlier in the afternoon, she actually saw an improvement in her deep sleep metrics on the app.
And she felt better.
Yeah, and she reported feeling more rested and focused during the day. It basically turns those invisible patterns into something visible you can work with.
And what about stress? Is that something wearables can, truly track effectively?
The sources indicate they're getting better at it, yeah. They tracked physiological signals associated with stress, things like elevated heart rate or changes in that HRV we talked about.
Okay.
And some apps like Fitbit or Apple Health mentioned in the material can use this data to trigger timely nudges,
Nudges, like what?
like suggesting a guided breathing exercise right when it detects a potential stress spike. A little prompt to pause and reset.
Okay, so it's not just about optimizing workouts or sleep then. The sources really dig into some pretty significant potential medical applications. That's where this moves beyond just general wellness into actual health.
This is where it gets really interesting, I think. Studies cited in the material show some pretty promising early detection capabilities.
Like that fascinating point about potentially flagging early COVID symptoms. I saw that mentioned.
Tracking things like a sudden elevated resting heart rate or changes in your breathing rate. These could potentially indicate illness brewing before you even feel consciously sick.
Oh.
And beyond that, the sources mentioned their utility in detecting potential heart rhythm irregularities, like atrial fibrillation or AFib,
Right.
Or even assisting individuals with conditions like diabetes by integrating with continuous glucose monitors and providing medication reminders.
Okay, but it's really important we're clear here. This isn't replacing your doctor, right?
Absolutely crucial point. Cannot stress that enough. The sources strongly emphasize that this data supplements professional medical advice. It doesn't replace it.
So it gives you, the listener, more information to bring to your doctor. So you're not just guessing when something feels off.
Exactly. You have data points. We actually heard that really powerful listener story about Tariq. Remember that one?
Yeah, the Garmin Watch Alert.
Right. His Garmin flagged an irregular heart rate, which ultimately led to a diagnosis of a heart rhythm disorder he had no idea he had. That kind of early warning potential is, well, it's a significant development.
No kidding. But with all this potential, though, comes a challenge that the sources really seem to underscore, this feeling of data overload.
It's a very real downside. The sheer volume of metrics can be overwhelming sometimes. It can even trigger anxiety, or that feeling that your device is kind of judging you if you don't hit these arbitrary goals.
Yeah, I can see that.
It can make you shift focus from how you actually feel to just how your numbers look on the screen.
And tied into that, we're giving a lot of very sensitive personal health data to tech companies here.
Which raises, obviously, big questions about privacy and data security. The sources stress how important it is to understand a company's data sharing policies. Read the fine print.
And use secure apps.
Right. The key takeaway here, really, is that you should be in control of your data, not the other way around. It requires some vigilance on our part.
Okay, stepping back slightly, the sources also touched on benefits that go beyond just physical health metrics, sort of touching on mental state and daily lifestyle.
Yeah, what's interesting here is how tracking can provide these kind of unexpected mental boosts or prompts for healthier habits. I mean, sometimes simply seeing your step count creep up is the motivation you need to get out the door for a walk.
Or those stress alerts we mentioned, prompting a quick breathing exercise when you might not otherwise pause during a hectic day.
Exactly. Or even simpler things like a device vibrating because you've been sitting still for too long. Those little nudges to just get up and move can impact your posture, your mood, even your productivity throughout the day. Little things add up.
Definitely. But all these different numbers, HRV, VO2 max, SpO2, resting heart rate, it can get confusing trying to make sense of it all. How do the sources simplify this for us?
Yeah, the acronym SOUP, they provide pretty straightforward explanations, thankfully. HRV, like we discussed, is largely about nervous system recovery generally. Higher variability is better.
Okay.
VO2 max relates more to your cardiovascular endurance, how efficiently your body uses oxygen during exercise.
Yeah.
SpO2 is your blood oxygen saturation level, ideally staying between 95 and 100%.
Right.
And resting heart rate is just what it sounds like your heart rate when you're fully at rest. Often it's lower in fitter individuals.
But the key takeaway from the sources isn't to get totally hung up on a single day's number, is it?
Exactly. Yeah, that seemed to be a strong theme. The real value is in looking at trends over weeks or months. Is your resting heart rate slowly decreasing over time? Is your HRV generally trending upwards?
So zoom out a bit.
Yeah. They suggest maybe doing weekly check-ins on your data is much less likely to cause pressure or anxiety than scrutinizing it daily. It's about seeing the overall direction, not obsessing over the daily fluctuations.
Makes sense. Looking ahead now, the sources talk quite a bit about the increasing role of AI in wearable tech. What's happening there?
Well, AI is really moving these devices from just being trackers to becoming more like personalized coaches. You see devices like WHO and the Fitbit Sense were mentioned as examples,
Right.
where AI analyzes your data not just to report your recovery level, but to offer personalized suggestions, like should you push hard in your workout today or take a rest day. It might even recommend an optimal bedtime based on your unique sleep patterns.
And even predicting things before they happen. Is that real?
That's the direction, yes. Analyzing your historical data
Oh.
to potentially predict when stress might be building up, or maybe when you might be on the verge of getting sick based purely on those physiological signals. It's moving towards being more proactive, less reactive.
So combining all this, what's the kind of overall vision for the future of healthcare that's hinted at in the sources?
The trends, they touch upon things like smart clothing with embedded sensors, maybe non-invasive sensors like glucose monitoring, contact lenses, even brain-sensing headbands. It all points towards healthcare becoming increasingly wearable, personalized, and proactive.
Wearable, personalized, proactive.
Yeah. Continuous data-driven insights delivered directly to you, hopefully empowering better health decisions.
There's also a social and community layer to many of these devices and apps, isn't there? That came up too.
Yes, and this can be a really powerful motivator for consistency, actually. Apps with leaderboards, challenges, earning badges,
Yeah.
they turn activity into something shareable, maybe even a bit competitive.
Like Strava for cyclists and runners.
Strava is a classic example, yeah. It creates this sense of community and accountability around training and activity.
And I know with the Apple Watch's activity sharing, just seeing your friends close their rings can definitely provide that little nudge you need sometimes to get moving yourself.
that friendly competition, or even just shared goals, really does seem to help people maintain consistency over time. And
Okay.
consistency is key, right?
Yeah.
That's how you actually see any benefit from the tracking in the first place.
Totally. Now, with so much marketing hype around different devices and all these fancy metrics, how do the sources suggest listeners figure out what provides, real value versus just being a gimmick?
Yeah, it's easy to get dazzled. This raises an important question. What problem are you, the listener, actually trying to solve? Real value, according to the sources, comes from accuracy, yes, but maybe more importantly from data that provides genuine insight.
Insight.
Yeah, and feedback that helps you make actionable changes. Does it tell you something you didn't know, and does it suggest something you can do about it?
So before you buy, maybe ask yourself, which metric is most important for my specific goal right now? And will this device give me information that helps me do something differently, or is it just going to be another number to look at?
Exactly. Simplicity and actionable feedback often outweigh just having overwhelming complexity. You need data that serves as a guide, not just like digital decoration.
Right. And since there are so many options out there, the sources offered a helpful kind of lightning round on which devices might be good fits for different types of people. That was useful.
Yeah, a quick guide based on the material. Let's run through it.
Okay, for busy moms, what did they suggest?
The Aura Ring came up. It's discreet, worn on the finger, less likely to buzz constantly with notifications. Good focus on sleep and stress metrics, which can be really relevant when life is hectic.
Makes sense. Runners and cyclists.
That lean towards Garmin watches or devices with strong Strava integration. They focus on high-precision GPS, detailed performance metrics, endurance tracking tools, things serious athletes care about.
Okay. What about beginners, someone just starting out?
The Xiaomi Mi Band, or maybe a basic Fitbit Inspire, were mentioned. They tend to be more affordable, reliable for the core metrics like steps and basic sleep, and generally less overwhelming to start with.
Good starting point. And for the biohackers or the really serious data enthusiasts?
That pointed towards WOP or maybe an Apple Watch Ultra, devices that provide very deep, detailed data on recovery, performance, and all sorts of physiological markers for people who really want to optimize rigorously.
Right, the deep divers.
Exactly.
And finally, seniors or maybe caregivers looking out for them.
Well, dedicated medical alert wearables, naturally, but also devices like the Apple Watch came up because of features like fall detection and easy emergency contact access, prioritizing safety there. So yeah, the material really showed there seems to be a device designed with specific needs and different stages of life in mind now.
One really interesting point that emerged was how tracking, maybe ironically, can actually help strengthen your mind-body connection, not just make you reliant on the tech itself.
Yeah, what's fascinating there is how the data can sometimes validate or illuminate internal feelings you're having. Like maybe seeing your heart rate spike during a meeting and realizing, oh, okay, that's not just caffeine, that's anxiety manifesting physically.
Or noticing in your sleep data how a specific change you made to your evening routine, maybe journaling before bed, actually seems to improve your deep sleep quality score.
Precisely. The devices can turn those often invisible internal patterns, like how stress affects your sleep or how your diet affects your energy levels, into visible signals you can learn from. They can act as a kind of objective wellness compass.
But with all this tracking, the risk of burnout is real. We touched on data overload. How do the sources suggest we use these tools mindfully and avoid getting completely overwhelmed?
Yeah, super important. They offered some really practical tips. First, aggressively manage your notifications. Turn off everything non-essential so your watch isn't constantly demanding your attention all day long.
Good one. Maybe even delete the app on weekends sometimes, just to create a mental break from staring at the numbers.
That was a specific suggestion, yeah. Create some distance. Also, maybe take a moment monthly to journal or just reflect on why you started tracking in the first place. Anchor back to your original goals, not just the metrics themselves.
Keep the why in mind.
Right. And perhaps even schedule an annual tech-off window a week, maybe two, for a complete reset from all the tracking.
Because ultimately, health and wellness aren't really about pursuing perfect numbers every single day, right? Sometimes wellness actually involves consciously letting go and just being.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this brings us neatly to what felt like a core metaphor from the sources.
Okay.
This idea that wearables are a mirror, not a master.
A mirror, not a master. I like that. Explain that a bit.
Well, they show you what's happening, right? They reflect your body's data back to you. But you are the one who looks into that mirror, reflects on what you see, considers the context, and then chooses how to act. The device doesn't dictate. It informs.
So you are far more than the numbers on a screen.
Exactly. You're a living, breathing story, And these tools, when used well, can help you edit that story with maybe greater clarity and intention.
Beautifully put. And that clarity comes from both the data you see and those moments of stillness where you just listen to your body without the tech involved at all.
Totally. We actually had a listener question submitted on this exact point, which was great timing. At Zarbreathe, asked about feeling totally overwhelmed by all the stats on their Fitbit and wanted to know how to simplify things.
That's a great question. At Zara Breathe. And it ties directly into avoiding that burnout and focusing on real value. So the advice distilled from the sources is basically pick one, maybe two metrics to focus on initially. Don't try to master everything at once.
Yeah, start simple. Maybe just pay attention to your steps for a month, get a feel for that. Then maybe introduce sleep tracking the next month. It's about building awareness gradually and consistently, rather than trying to track or perfect every single aspect of your health from day one. It's definitely a marathon, not a sprint.
Right. So the core message we really distilled from all these sources is that wearable tech is becoming this really powerful tool, a mirror, as you said, for gaining self-awareness and making positive data-informed changes in your life.
But the power ultimately rests with you, the individual. You interpret the data, you make the choices, and you need to maintain control over your information. It's about empowering yourself by paying attention, not getting lost in chasing numerical perfection.
Your body is always communicating with you, isn't it? These technologies can help translate some of that communication into visible data, but ultimately it's about building trust in your own physical and mental signals too. Stay curious, stay aware.
And as the sources offer as a kind of final thought and affirmation for you, the listener, I use technology as a tool, not a weight. I track to transform, not to control. I trust my data, but I trust my body more.
Love that. If you'd like to see a list of some of the top wearable devices mentioned today, maybe with some pros and cons, you can check out our Instagram feed at The Clarity Room Pod. We'll post something there.
And next time, we're continuing our health deep dives. We're moving on to Gut Health Decoded, How Food Affects Your Mood. Should be fascinating.
Ooh, yes. And after that, we're tackling some persistent misconceptions in nutrition myths that need to die in 2025.
Lots to unpack there, too. Until then, trust your body, stay curious, and be aware.